Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Every Point's a Winner. That's Epaw, Every Point's a Winner. And we've got some big shout-outs to go. We've started a couple of minutes early because we've got 8 games to get through. We're going to give you the value 2 and 3 leg parlays for anytime try scorers. Now, there was a couple of games last week that really hurt the anytime try scorer model, and one of them was the Bulldogs game because there was no points scored in the second half, so that crushed us. We will have to make a few adjustments if those games are going to continue. Perfect for the purist, similar to the grand final last year where there weren't many tries scored. But I'm not a purist. I really like to see tries scored, and that's why we really need as many tries scored as possible, especially if we haven't picked the right player to score the try. But so, for starters, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say a big, big hello to one of the nicest guys you could meet, a gentleman and a scholar, very well mannered. He's one of the managers at the hotel not too far from here. And his name is Bishal Baratkatki. Bishal Baratkatki, a very big hello to you. Thanks for joining. Hopefully you get all your friends to join along as well, especially if they're as passionate as you about your soccer and your rugby league. And a big shout out and a big hello to the Bankstown Bulldog members of Nova in Omar Sharef. I call them the Sharef brothers. Every time we head into the office, it's rugby league first off. On Monday, it has to be rugby league chat. So anyway, a big hello to Omar and Adam. Adam was wearing, I think he was wearing some really nice aftershave last weekend, and he said it was Calvin Klein. So Adam, if you keep on going like this, you're going to get a raise. You'll be able to buy us all Calvin Klein for Christmas. Remember that. I'm putting my order in now. I want my Calvin Klein. It was a really nice aftershave. And anyway, it's really good atmosphere down there, but they're crazy Bulldog supporters. So all you guys, hit like, subscribe, thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit the bell. When you do subscribe, you'll get all the information you need. We will be calling certain games, particularly through the final series, from the free-to-air TV like we did for the 2 of the 3 State of Origins, and we got a great response. I think we had up to 1,500 people that weren't even subscribers that were watching it as well. So, and then we got quite a few new subscribers after that. But let's get on to the business part of the conversation here. The first game is tonight. There's only one game tonight. It's the Dolphins versus the Cowboys. A vital game for both of them because they're both hanging on the fringe of the 8, and it's a must-win for both of them. Of course, for mine, the massive loss for Dolphins over the last couple of weeks has been Cody Nikorima, and it showed up last week against the Sharks where Cody was lacking, taking the freedom, giving Katoa the freedom to do a lot out of the halves there. This time they've brought Jake Averillo in off the wing, and they've put him into the 5'8" position there by the looks of it. And with Katoa, we'll put him into the halves anyway. But we'll have a look at those team lists very, very shortly. Also, a must-win for the Cowboys. It is up at Suncorp Stadium, and the game is only about 3 hours away. A big shout-out to Steve Lammy, who's a crazy Raiders supporter. You must be happy, so happy up there at the moment, at the top of the ladder, mate. There's a couple of teams breathing down your neck. In the Bulldogs, go the Dogs. We've got the blue and white colours on behind here for the Dogs. And the late wifey, Lizzie, she was the craziest Bulldogs fan going around. So she'd be very, very happy there, looking up from heaven and cheering on those Bulldogs for this year. But Melbourne are looking good. They've got a big game this weekend as well. And Manly are either win or bust this game against Melbourne. But we'll get into that very, very shortly. Let's start off with a team list with a Cronulla at Shark Park. Cronulla versus East. It's a little bit early, so some of those people that are trying to rush home from work, if they've got a 9 to 5, they may not get into the ground in time. So I'd imagine there'll be people pouring into the ground even after the kickoff. So let's have a look at the team list here. Ins and outs, very important. Chris Va'a is in for the Cronulla Sharks. Jaden Beryl, Niwa Puru. There's two brothers, the two Puru brothers. Samuel Stonestreet's in. That's very, very interesting and a big plus. Whether he gets the start is another question. But he might be as a reserve. We'll have a look at that in a second. In also for the Sydney Roosters, Chad Townsend. He's got a lot to stand up to. He before they hooked him, he had a couple of shockers, and so it's a tough time to be reintroduced back into this side because Cronulla are going to go throw everything at them, everything bar the kitchen sink. And getting back into the team here, it's a guy I haven't heard much of here. I don't know quite how to pronounce his name, but it's Benial Leulu. Benial Leulu. Chad Townsend, Sandon Smith is in, so that's a big plus too for the Roosters. Taylor Losolo and Tom Rodwell. Outs is Hugo Savala. That's a fairly big loss for Roosters. He had a big game last week. Okay, let's have a look at the matchups here. Kennedy against Tedesco. Then you got Tupou against Katoa. Tupou had an outstanding match last game. Billy Smith against Jesse Raymond. And then you have Mark Nwandagawazi up against Ronaldo Mulatalo. So fairly even there. And then Fanua Blake against Nafahu White. Bailey up against Connor Watson. Connor Watson not starting from the bench. He's starting from the front. And also good to see Victor Radley wearing his headgear. For Kenny is in the second row there. Crichton up against Britton Nakora, who's been a little bit quiet for our anytime try scorer. He just hasn't received enough of the ball of late. And not many tries scored in that Dolphins versus Cronulla game last week, which really put the wind up me before the Canterbury match, knowing that we needed more tries to be scored. So hopefully that stays away in the all open games this weekend. But this one could be very, very tight. Okay, but let's get on to that's the second match that we're going to go over. But the main match now, I had the wrong page open up. So it's Tabuai Fidow is back with Scott Drinkwater, Jermaine Osako, Jackson Paulo is back. That's good. Braden Burns, this worries me. Jackson Purdue's been moved back. What's he doing here? He's moved him back to the wing, has he? Or to the 5'8". And the halfback, Thomas Dearden and Isaiah Katoa. Jake Averillo is in there at the 5'8". Jackson Purdue back to the 5'8" position. I'm speechless. And I know who I'll be tipping in this match. Herbie Farnworth up against Zach Labart. A lot of experience there for Farnworth. Jermaine Osako against Jackson Paulu. A lot of experience there for Paulu. And let's get into the anytime try scorer. I think if it was up at North Townsville or up in North Queensland, far North Queensland or Townsville there, I'd probably be tipping Dearden's mob. But I'm going against the Cowboys here. I think the Dolphins will hit back now that Tabuai Fidow is back off his origin duties. And we'll have a look at the TAB and see who comes up short price favourites here. I don't know why I'm getting that page there. There it is. Okay, so it's $1.48 Dolphins and $2.65 head-to-head North Queensland. It's at 2 hours and 45 minutes away, so let's get cracking into it. Last time they met, it was Dolphins 58 destroyed the Cowboys 4. My goodness gracious. And they can do that to you, the Dolphins. I just wish they had Cody Nicarima. He's been outstanding this year. It was a tragedy when he injured himself. First and anytime try scorer here. Tabby Waifado opens up the market very stoutly at $1.75. Then you have Murray Talangi at $1.85. Herbie's odds on. Wow. They've finally woken up to themselves. I always used to get him around 5-2. In the early days, you could get Herbie Farnworth at 3-1, 7-2, but not anymore. Trey Fuller is 250. Drinkwater around the same, 260. Fane or Max Fige is 260. Connolly Elu, a little bit shorter than what I like, 290. Jackson Purdue 3-1. I can't stand him playing 5'8", even though Peyton has moved him there several times to his failure. And every time he moves him back to the centres, he plays much, much better with a lot more space there. Anyway, they've had to shuffle it up, and there's a few players missing. And unfortunately, he won't get the freedom he usually does. Isaiah Katoa, 650. He hasn't got over forever and a day. Francis Mollo, 650. All the forwards are very good odds. Out to 750. Carl Lawton, Harrison Graham, Cohen Hess, 11-1. And we're just looking at our first banker. Because I'm tipping Dolphins, I'm going to lead with the Dolphin, and we will refuse to give you less than even money, because it's very, very difficult if you're going to have odds on or $1.60 into $1.60. You're not going to get anything for that double. We will have odds on through the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth leg if we need to. But I really would like to stand out one guy here who's not odds on. And I'm going to tip you, unfortunately, Jake Averillo is odds on in a position that he hasn't played that much. I'm going to tip you Zach Laybutt here. I know he went over last week, and I'd prefer to have Jackson Purdue in his position or in the opposing, the other side, number 3. I think Laybutt's 4. We're going to stand him out Laybutt. So I'm leading out with North Queensland against my ethos here, because all of the players that I wanted to lead out with are odds on for the Dolphins. That's not good. Let's chuck in Jermaine Osako. He usually scores every second match, so he's due to score now. Jermaine Osako, the winger for the Dolphins. Let's put him in as the second banker. Then we're going to spin back to Connolly Lemuelu, who hasn't disappointed us for the entire season. Connolly Lemuelu at $2.90 is really, really good value. Then we're going to spin back here to Thomas Dearden at $4.50. He did so well for us in the State of Origin, even though we didn't like Queensland winning. He was great value at 5-1. So $4.50 is good value there. Kurt Donahue is the fourth leg hit here for our Epaw selections. The fourth leg, Kurt Donahue, the Dolphins. And then, of course, we're going to chuck in 3 other players for 5th and 6th. Scott Drinkwater, Jackson Paulu, and also Herbie Farnworth. So there you go. Let's move on to the next match. I'm thinking pound for pound, I'd be tipping I think it's going to be tight for most of the match because they're desperate now, the Cowboys. But I think Dolphins might creep away and win by 13 plus. My second selection would be 1-12 to the Dolphins. So, but stranger things have happened. Let's get on to the next match and open up the page that we were looking at just before when we opened up. The Cronulla Sharks for the Friday match and the Roosters. Team lists here. Let's have a look. Yeah, we've already gone over this team list. Chad Townsend is a major concern. So let's go straight to, since we've already done a little bit of homework by cutting myself off, Let's go straight to the ladder and see where they are. Roosters are 8th on 22 and Sharks, let's see, are 9th on 22. That's why it's a desperate game for Sharks and Roosters going forward in the competition. That you want to keep inside the 8 because there's quite a few sides around that same position. You got Panthers, Broncos a little bit more in front, but you got Panthers, Sea Eagles, Sharks, Roosters, Dolphins, and outside of that, Dragons and Cowboys. The rest, Knights, West Tigers, Eels, Rabbitohs, and Titans, for mine, are all battling for the wooden spoon or to not get the wooden spoon. Anyway, let's go to the anytime try scorers here. We'll turn over the page. And this game starts at 6:02. So it's $1.67. Cronulla being their home ground. Very good value, $2.20. You could take that all day. If I knew that Chad Townsend wasn't playing, I really think this is not the. It is the game that he needs to stand up, but I'm really worried about him having another shocker. I really am, and that's why $2.20. It's a good specky bet, but honestly, you'd have to get Tedesco and Mark Nwanga-Nitawazi having a blinder, as well as Sanders Smith and a few of the other players, including their halfback that's just come back from a long-standing injury. Last time they met, it was in round 12 earlier this year, 42-16. The Sharks got decimated. So they're also searching for revenge here. Let's go on to the anytime try scorer, and we'll have a good look here. Sinoni Katoa and Ronaldo, both the Cronulla Sharks, they open up the market at $1.90, $1.95. Daniel Tupou, $1.95. Mark Nwanga-Nitawazi, $1.95. Samuel Stone Street, 2-1. He may even be just a bit. Where have they put him on this team list? They haven't even got him in there. Let's have another look at that. Let's go to the draw. Come on, that and team lists. I can't see him there. Is he coming off the bench? This happened to us last week when they brought on Nathan Cleary. He ended up scoring and absolutely screwing our anytime try scorer results. He's only the reserve Samuel Stone Street, so it's unless there's one or two major happenings at Cronulla, he won't get the run. So, but they've given him even money there. Let's go back. He won't be unless Katoa or the other fellow gets injured. Stone Street will not get their position because he's been a great anytime try scorer for people that play ATTS with the NRL sports betting. And let's have a look here. I don't know why that's open. Close that one there and get to what we want. Nico Hines, is he going to have 2 blinders in a row? I doubt it, but he needs to. They need to be on their best behaviour here against the Roosters. But as I said, I'm still, although I want to tip the Roosters, I'm still being haunted by Chad Townsend's name being there. And it's nothing personal against the guy. He just hasn't proved himself at East since he moved down from the Cowboys. So let's have a look here at the anytime try scorer. Who we're going to actually stand out as our banker that's really, really important to score. I think we're going to give him another chance, Britton Nakora. Let's open up with Britton Nakora at 275. And we're going to chuck in Billy Smith at 280 as the other standout leg, the main banker 1 and banker 2. So what you do is have your 2-leg parlays with your main bankers and then your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th legs and 6th leg all running off your 2 bankers. Then you can slowly start adding the third, fourth, and fifth leg into three-leg parlays. Don't really go more than three-leg parlays. Trust me, four-leg parlays are near impossible to get, and it's a waste of your money. Although it looks great when it says it's going to return $150, try and get the 5 try scorers of good value, unless it's a thrashing and you've got the 2 wingers for the side that's thrashing the opposition. Even then, it's not going to pay that good because most of the wingers are long odds on for a good side. So anyway, that's our standouts there. And then we will chuck in, let's see who we're going to lead with. Britton Nakora and Billy Smith. For our third leg, I'd like to put in James Tedesco, but I'm going to put in Robert Toyer. We had him and he just missed out in the origin of scoring. So I think since he's come back, he's played with so much confidence. He scored last time. Let's put him in for our third leg, Robert Toyer. For the fourth leg, I've got a feeling he's going to do, and they don't call him tricky for nothing, a tricky Trendle moment for Braden Trendle at 350, and there's really good value there for you for our fourth leg. For our fifth leg, let's chuck in Connor Watson at 6-1. He's great value there, Connor Watson. And our emergency reserve sixth leg, I'm going to chuck in Victor Radley because he's great value there at 8-1. So we're really leaning towards East. And in fact, I'm going to tip East with my fingers crossed because of the Chad Townsend inclusion. I really hope that Smith takes over the kicking. And I really hope that he has one of his outstanding games. Let's get on to the next one. I'm looking at Sanders Smith. He hasn't scored forever and a day. I could entertain him, but I'm just going to entertain him and leave it at that. Let's get on to the next match before we get bogged down here. It's the second of the Friday night matches. It's Penrith versus South. The long odds on here is Penrith at $1.40. They're making that long sustained run to get into the top 8s and solidify that. And South are 3-1. You couldn't have South really, even if you had the proverbial gun put to your head. You would say, "Well, I'm not going to tip South." No, even take my life. I'm not going to tip South at all. But with Penrith, let's have a look at the ins and outs. That might lead us into tipping them with many of the try scorers here. And ins and outs, God, there's a big list of ins. Brian To'o's in, so that's interesting. Dylan Edwards, Harrison Hassett, Jack Cole. We had him last week as one of our main bankers. He didn't even get a run. Luke Somerton, Preston Ricky, Scott Sorensen. That's a big inclusion. He got outed for about 3 or 4 weeks, didn't he? In for the Rabbitohs, there's a big list here. Ewan Aiken, Latrell Mitchell, Peter Mamazelas, Sean Kepi, Shaqui Mitchell, Thomas Fletcher. Outs for the Rabbitohs. There's Brandon Smith. He's done his knee again, but not so badly. Campbell Graham, David Muwali. Isaiah Yayo's out. Interesting. Isaac Targo and Nathan Cleary is also out. Okay. Well, you may be forgiven if you tip South to cause a major boil over here. So the captain's Dylan Edwards. That's interesting. And, of course, Latrell Mitchell is the captain of South, with Edwards being the captain of Penrith. They've still got a strong side. Looking at the matchups here, Mitch Kenny on Havili. What a great defender Mitch Kenny is. You can put him in any side, and he's the work rate. He's hasn't scored for maybe 2 years, honestly. But what a machine to have as a defence on your defence department there. Paul Alamotti, He's gone from the wings to the centres there. Casey McLean. Now that Brian Toll's back. Thomas Jenkins has been playing out of his skin lately. Brad Schneider's been playing really good at 7, filling in for the super jaw, as we like to call him, Nathan. Harrison Hassett is the reserve. First reserves are Jack Cole and LeBlanc, they're the replacement. But the interchanges are still pretty strong. You've got Dane Laurie against Mademoisellas, Liam Henry against Hubner, Sean Kepi against Pattaya, and Eisenhuth against Dodd. Well, we really haven't seen much of the Lewis Dodd, have we? They spent a lot of money bringing him over, so whether he gets a run, he might get a run in the dying 15 to 20 minutes, depends what the super coach is going to do. Okay, let's go straight to the important thing. Is there going to be enough value here? Let's get a gut feel for it as we look at the TAB and see who comes up stiff. 6th on the ladder, Penrith, South 16th, of course. The last time they met, it was a boil-over. It was South Sydney 28 at Accor Stadium, beating Penrith 18 by 10 points. So could it be the upset of the round? I don't know. I think I'd be getting a trigger to my head if I was going to tip South, but knowing there's a couple of players missing and a lot of players back for South, but they're still missing Cody Walker, isn't it? That's a big loss. Thomas Jenkins is the hot favourite here at $1.65. Tyron Munro, $2.30. Alex Johnson hasn't scored for a couple of matches. He's trying to get up to that record, but hasn't reached it yet. 6 or 7 tries away. Scott Sorensen, 3-1. Jack White and 375. Brad Schneider hasn't got over for even a day. He'll be doing too much work out of the halves. Tallis Duncan is my standout man here for South. Tallis Duncan at 4-1. He's been fantastic to Epaw. Every point's a winner, and he's really collected some nice doubles for us. So we're standing out Tallis Duncan, and what a leg to stand out. 4-1. Come in spinner. There's your value of the week. But then we're going to lean back towards, I'd like to see Dane Laurie get a run, but we don't know with how much time he's going to get. Top $1.65. I don't really like having a leg at odds on, but there could be an exception. Let's put in Paul Alamotti as our second leg there, Paul Alamotti. Then our third leg, Casey McLean. And then we're going to go odds on for our 4th, 5th, and 6th leg. We're going to go Thomas Jenkins, Brian To'o, and I'm tossing up between Alex Johnson and Tyron Munro for your 6th reserve selection there. They're all odds on, except Tyron Munro is a bit more value at $2.30. So there you go. That game is done and dusted. I think it's pretty an upset. I don't want to tip one, though. I'm going to tip Penrith 1-12 in a close one. But you could also have, as a secondary selection, you could easily have Penrith 13+. Let's get on to the next match as we wind our way through the 8 matches here. Not easy work here. And it's absolutely freezing cold in Sydney. I'm going to take my hat off to people that are coming home on that cold train, and people that aren't wearing enough clothes. You're very, very silly. Okay, just get back into bed, get under the sheepskin covers. All right, enough with the silliness, and let's move back to what we're supposed to be doing here. Okay, so the TAB has the next game as being the first of the Saturday matches, and that's at 3:02. Make sure that doesn't get you if you are playing the Canberra and Parramatta match. There may be a little bit of value for Parramatta. And Canberra is stiff, probably the shortest price going around. The leaders of the competition at $1.24. Parramatta 4.10 if you think they can cause the super upset of the season so far. They have been playing competitively, but not enough to beat a side like this, I believe. But let's have a look at the teams, ins and outs, and we'll go across to that game. And as I said, that early game, it may get you if you're shopping. Don't forget that it's before the shops close, it's going to be playing. So we'll go to the team list here, ins and outs. And in is Danny Levi for Canberra. Ethan Sanders, Hudson Young is back. Very interesting. And Josh Papali'i is back also. And then for the Eels, Dan Keir, Hayes Dunster, Ronald Volkman, Riley Smith. He was playing good without looking too threatening at dummy half. So I wonder if we look at the team where he's going to get the run or he's just going to be on the bench. And Tom Matali there. Out for Parramatta is the big fellow who scored last week, Cortoga. Very interesting. All right, let's go back and have a look at the matchups. Ko Wiggs against Isaiah Oyongi, two young legends there on the way up. Jed Stewart against Zach Lomax. It's been hot and cold, Zach, this year. Had a shocker in the Origin and then sort of had a bit of a go at it last week for Parramatta. Bailey Simonson is back in the centre there against Timoko. What a strong, fast player Matthew Timoko is. He is lethal off the mark. A lot of the Canberra players are. The speed off the mark, and the best of them all is playing at fullback there in Ko Weeks. And you don't know which angle he's going to run at. Great to see Josh Papali'i up against Jermaine Hopgood. Riley Smith is going to be playing at dummy half against one of my favourite players for Canberra, Tom Starling. Joseph Tarpany is the captain up against Junior Bolo for Parramatta there. Zach Hosking, another one of my favourite players. Yeah, I reckon we're going to have a go here. I really do. And I think we're going to lead out with some value. Let's have a look at the market first. And we click on that and then go to anytime try scorer. Running first on 32 points, 16 points ahead of the third last position Parramatta side. 16 points ahead. So that's basically 8 wins. So $1.24 against 4.10. Last time they played, Canberra donkey licked them 50-12. Canberra. And then let's go have a look here at anytime try scorer. Xavier Sarridge opens up the banking account here at $1.55. That's very skinny. Wouldn't be much less than that. I can't be having that. Then you go to Chevy Stewart at $1.95. Geez, that's unders as well. Jed Stewart $1.75. Fair enough. Ko Wiggs $1.95. It's nearly value. Ko Wiggs at 5 cents under the even money. It really is. Hudson Young at $2.20. Josh Adokar $2.25. He hasn't scored for a while. 2 matches ago he scored. Then he had another 2 off and then 1 on. So Ethan Strange has been one of our best anytime try scorers here at Epaw. He's been very good to us. So we may even lead out with Ethan Strange, and we will. 250. I'm looking for value in this game, and I'm going to give it to you in bucket loads. Ethan Strange, 250. Then we're going to also stand out another Canberrian and another Raider in Matthew Timoko. Yes, he hasn't gone over for a long while, but I just think he's going to be in the right position at the right time. And I think Matthew Timoko will go over. He's only 260. So they know something I don't know. You know something I don't know? Where's your stuff? It's in the car. Okay, let's get back to the real thing. Zach Hosking is good value here too, but we also need to put a Parramatta player in. And so we'll lead back here Josh Samrani is 310. All good value here. And Zach Hosking at 310. Josh Adokar, 225. Lomax, 240. Probably if you're going to stick with Lomax, that's the best value you get for a while. Let's have a look here. For our third leg, I really want to go with one of my favourite forwards here. Where is he? I just saw him a minute ago. Is it Tom Starling? At 550, geez, that's good value. He goes over every second match, so he's due to go over. But I'm tossing up between him and the captain, Joseph Tarpany. Oh my God, it's hard. It's hard. Why don't we put them both in? But then we have not got a Parramatta player. We might chuck in one at the end there on the fifth or sixth leg. So the third leg, Tom Starling at 550, Joseph Tarpany, the fourth leg at 550. So it's virtually, I've just gone berserk on against Parramatta here. Simi Sasagi's good value too. Whether he gets enough time, I don't know. 750, there's value all over the park here. But we better lead into Parramatta for this fifth leg, I believe. And let's have a look. I really like one of my favourite forwards is playing. Dylan Brown hasn't scored for the last 5 or 6 matches, and I said that is owing to Moses not being there. When Moses was there, it freed Dylan Brown up, and they've been moving him around in positions that he's not that good at. I'm going to chuck in Dylan Walker here to go over. He's been playing outstanding. We don't know how much of the match he'll get. I'm sure he'll be subbing there at some stage. He's 9-1. So, but I tell you what, this could be a big collect. If it all goes as we're predicting, that's going to be a massive collect. So Dylan Walker's your fifth leg there. It's your sixth leg. You can chuck in Lomax or any of your other players to go over. But I would even chuck in, of course, you would have to chuck in Kyo Weeks along there with that other player that I just mentioned. Let's get off that match now. I think Canberra 13 plus clearly. And if I was leaning into a second selection, I would give you Canberra 1-12, but I'm not going to. I'm going to lead out with Canberra at 13 plus. I think it's Parramatta may be in it for some time, but I think Canberra will give them a toweling up down there. Okay, now the next Saturday match is for all you Bulldogs fans, including you legends up there at Nova, the Nova Bulldogs, I call them, in Omar and Adam. This is for you, mate. The Bulldogs are $1.35, St George at $3.25. We really need to look at the ins and outs, and let's see at the ins and outs here how we're going. I just need to get that page back. There we go. And we'll click on that and open that. And this game is at 5:30. So pay attention to that. Those early games can really, if you're doing things, you can easily miss them. And then if you haven't put your bets on, the only way you can put a bet on, I think, at half time, and you've lost a lot of value at that stage, is you have to ring the TAB up. I've done that once or twice. I think I've done it once for Lindsay Smith, and he didn't score. Of course, he scored the next week. Okay, ins for the Bulldogs is Daniel Saluka Fafita. Kurt Mann is back. That's a big plus. Lockie Galvin. And this is the big one that's coming back. And Omar gave me the heads up on this, that Satili Tupanua is coming back. So that's a big return there. And, of course, the best centre in rugby league at this point in time around the world is Stephen Crichton. He's back as well. In for St George's, Lachlan Ilias, Pacific Tonga, not a bad player. Matthew Fine, it's Max's brother, isn't it? Yeah. And Sugranis, the Greek, is back. So let's have a look here at the matchups. It's Connor Tracy up against Gutho. Gutho is, of course, the captain of St George. Saints are going to have to just deliver one of their best games they've ever similar to what they did against East. They nearly got up to beat East, but the class just shone through at the end there with Radley going over late. Jacob Kiraz up against Sloan. Interesting that they got Tuwali in the centres there because they're still happy to put Kiraz on the wing. Very interesting. Crichton in his usual position. Matt Burton. Geez, they're a strong side, Canterbury. Reid Marnie, well, we know he's signed with the Cowboys for next year, but he's been playing outstanding this year. Jacob Preston, he went over last time. Kurt Mann is the first interchange. Jacob Little, of course, is the first interchange for St George. Let's go to where it really means something to us here on every point's a winner. I'm tipping Bulldogs here. I think the first half may be relatively close, but I think the Bulldogs are going to tear away here with this match, and I'm expecting a 13 plus here to the Bulldogs. And I'm not just saying it because the Nova boys are listening, but I think it will be 13 plus, and I think there'll be quite a few tries scored. Similar, I wouldn't say they're just going to tighten down on the defence. I'd like to see a free flowing game like it was at Jubilee last year when there was many points scored with the St George and Bulldogs game. I'd like to see a game like that rather than the purest just tackle, tackle, tackle. So anyway, yeah, hopefully it's an entertaining match because that Eastern St George was a very entertaining match last Saturday night. So when we click on that, the last time they met, it was Bulldogs 28 in round one, 28-20 over St George. And that was on the 8th of March. Wow, seems like a long time ago when the weather was nice and warm. As we click on the anytime try scorer here, Kiraz hasn't gone over forever and a day, and yet he's $1.75 because of his position. Jethro Rinakama, who had his debut try last weekend, is $1.75 also. Then you go out to Blake Wilson, Terrell Sloan, reasonable odds there at even money. Sione Fino at 230, Corey Allen at 240, Matthew Fine 240, kick out 260. They haven't left him out of the fray here. Connor Tracy 275. I got a feeling Tracy might go over here. Matt Burton, Valentine Hones 325. Satili Tupanua, could he go over after his first run back? Very interesting. Jaden Sewell went over last time. I can't believe he scored twice ever since we let him go. He scored twice, but I have not played the St George game over the last 2 weeks in pure protest that every time I do, I can never get the right try scorer for St George. But we might have a go here because we'll be leading out with most of the Canterbury's side. And rather than leave out with Steve Crichton, I'm going to stand out Connor Tracy here at 275. I've just got a real gut feeling that Connor Tracy will score. He hasn't scored for 3 or 4 matches, but I think this is the game where he could score. 275. Our other lead leg there, I really want to put Steve Crichton in, but I'm going to throw a dog bone into the mixture here with Satili Tupanua at 350 to go over on the burst close to the line as a second banker. Hopefully he gets enough time. So that's the risk in what I've done there, but I'm giving you value, 350. Then the third leg, Steve Crichton. Fourth leg, Vili Army Kikau is our fourth leg. And our fifth leg, it'd be remiss of me to leave out Terrell Sloan there as the fifth leg. As an emergency leg, I'd also have Corey Allen, who's playing in the centres for St George and is a little bit of a prolific try scorer early on in his career. The other one, if I was desperate and I had money leading into this match, I would chuck in Jacob Preston, but I'm taking a punt against him this weekend. But if you want to chuck him in, put him in your fifth and sixth leg there. Let's move on to the next match. as we wind our way through these 8 games here. And I'll get that other page back up if it wants to open up for me. So the next of the matches is really important for Manly. It's not so important for Melbourne, but it is also because they're trying to win the minor premiership. So $1.32, that's as skinny as what Canberra is, Nelly. $1.32 head-to-head, $3.42 Manly. It's away from Brookie so that they won't get all their decisions going their way. They get so many decisions when they play at 4 Pines Park all the time. Let's see how good you are, Manly, in front of the Melbourne home crowd. I can't see Manly winning. They've just been too hot and cold this week, this year, not this week, but this week, I think they'll be getting towed up. I could be wrong. I may have egg down my face and a couple of feathers hanging out of my hair when I do the review or the post review on Monday, but I doubt it. Let's have a look at the ins and outs. Cameron Munster is in. That's a big plus. Lazarus Vaialapu is also in. Another plus. Another giant. Sialagi Tiamalatu Brown. Tiamalatu Brown. Very difficult to say. Xavier Coates is back also. In for the Sea Eagles is Aaron Scoop, and then Caleb Nawali, Clayton Falalo, Gordon Chun Kun Tong, and Joey Walsh is also in. Michael Cheekan is out for the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. I was going to say Seagulls again. Can't get Seagulls out of my head or out of my blue blood. I still love the Brighton Seagulls. Always will. Always have. Okay, let's have a look here. And go to the important matchups here. So you got Nick Meaney up against Hopewadi. Hopewadi's growing on me, but so many times we've stood him out as our first league try scorer, and he's had a disallowed try against him. Jason Saab, he's good to see him back against Kane Bradley there. Jack Howarth up against one of my favourite Manly players, actually, Kula, or Tolotol Kula. And then Grant Anderson up against Tommy Trbojevic. We still don't know how much of that injury he's suffering. Xavier Coates up against Garrick. Garrick always plays outstanding in front of his home ground. I don't know about how he's going to go in Melbourne. Cameron Munster up against Luke Brooks. Bit of a mismatch there. Brooks, he tries hard for the little pint-sized rocket. Bit of class factor there, though, for Munster. Had an outstanding series in the Origin. Jerome Hughes against Dale Cherry Evans. That's a really good matchup. Excuse me, folks. I'm getting all hoarse here. Trent Liera up against Jake Trbojevic. I know who I had my money on. He went over for us as an anytime try scorer last week, Trent Liera, and he went over twice. No one was expecting that. Interchange Tyron Wishart, Jake Simkin, Tommy Talau, and also Kamakamika. Always wanted that Boy George song, Kama Chameleon. Nelson Asofa Solomona. Damn, we had him last week and he didn't go over. He went over the week before. So we're mistiming his try scoring. Ethan Bulmore hasn't scored for a long while. He's also the second and third interchange there. Let's go to the important bit so we can get through this without crashing and burning. Where are we? Manly and it's $1.34 and $3.30 head to head, as you know already. Running second is Melbourne on 30 points, 8 points in front of Manly, who are running seventh currently with 8 losses, 8 wins. Last time they played, it was a toweling of Manly, but it looks like it was at 4 Pines Park. What a place to get towed by a great side in Melbourne, 48-24. Very open scoring match, that one. Whether it'll be the same this time, because you don't know if being at Amy, they only have to score 2 or 3 quick early tries, Melbourne, and they can continue on and then take their foot off the accelerator. They've done it before. Leading out the markets here, Xavier Coates at $1.75. I'm looking straight into a guy that's basically scored for us every time we've had him. And he scored for us last week into that Trent Liero double. And it was Elise Katoa. I'm not going to go past him. He's a prolific try scorer. We're going to stand him out again. You're going to keep on giving me 250, 260, 270, 240. I'm taking 240. I won't take odds on, as you know. Let's go Elise Katoa there at 240 as our lead banker. I'm going to swing back to Melbourne here, strangely enough, because he's another prolific try scorer as our lead leg here. Tolotau Kola at 280. He really has not let us down this year, and I don't think he will. Then for our third leg, we're chucking in Jerome Hughes. He's missed 2 tries the last 2 matches, but the last 3 matches prior to that, he got us quite a few good doubles and parlays. Then we're going to chuck in Trent Liero for our fourth leg. Trent Liero, who is 650 and has scored his last 2 matches. That's good form if I've ever seen it. And Harry Grant as our fifth leg there at 350. Harry Grant as our fifth leg. And if I was put up against the wall and said, give me a reserve decision, give me a tip, and you've only got one choice, it, of course, would be Nick Meaney at 250. But I'll be chucking in Tom Trbojevic at 3-1. He may not get the run he gets at 4 Pines Park, but he did go over last time. So there's at least 2 Manly players out of the 6 that I've given you. Let's move on to the next match. I'm honestly tipping Melbourne there, 13 plus again. Can't see it going any other way. If Melbourne lose to Manly there, well, then I believe Manly might have a chance in the playoffs. But they've been very hot and cold, and this is a cracking hot Melbourne side in their home ground. It'd have to be Melbourne are no good in the wet. Check out the weather too, because if it's torrential, then you've got to even it up a lot more, and then Manly may have a chance because they're not great. They were really ordinary, Melbourne, against St George on a really muddy, wet track early in the year, and Saints just towed them. Okay, so we're moving up to the next match, and there's only 2 left, thank goodness, as we get through this hard work here on Epaw, but I love bringing it to you. West Tigers versus Gold Coast. This is basically a playoff to see if Gold Coast can get off the bottom of the barrel. $1.55 Tigers, Gold Coast 2.45. Gold Coast have got enough players to whack West Tigers, but West Tigers are playing for pride here. They do not want, how many is it now? 3 wooden spoons in a row. They're going for 4. They do not want that to happen to them. Anyway, they're running 14th on the ladder and dead last, the Gold Coast. So $1.55 against 2.45. We'll just have a very quick look at the sides. This game is at Leichhardt Oval, so that's a massive advantage to the Tigers as well. Team lists, ins and outs. You got Brent Naden is in. Kit Lalili with his brother Luke Lalili is in. Mapa Palangi, Christian, is in. And Talon May. I wonder if that's his brother. It must be. Anyway, the Titans ins are Rami Hull, Isaac Fasamawali, and then Sean Mullany, and Tom Weaver. Tom Weaver's improving. Good to see him come back into the fray here. Let's have a look at the next. Taylor May's getting the run in the 3. I'm just looking at the matchups here. Up against Brian Kelly. Good luck. It's going to be a lesson. Gerald Skilton up against Philip Sami. As I said, they've got enough players. Kieran Forage last year, along with their coach, Sam Verrills against Api Coruscant. I think they're still trying to sign up Coruscant for next year. Tony Suka against Beau Fermor. It's a game that you wouldn't be surprised if Gold Coast come out and destroyed West Tigers. But at Leichhardt, I can't see that happening. But they've got enough ability to do it. This is a tough match. This really, really is a tough match. Where are they putting Tom Weaver? Just having a look here. It's Fodawaiki. He's really seeking revenge, isn't he, against Terrell May? Fainu up against Jaden Campbell. Bit of a mismatch there, but he's up on the way out. Latu Fainu, he's very, very good. Stafford Tower. What's happened to Stafford Tower? He just hasn't received the ball enough. And I think when Luai wasn't there, he just didn't get the ball that he usually gets. And when West were flying, Stafford Tower would get sometimes 1 or 2 tries a match. He hasn't scored for quite some time. Let's go over and have a look at the anytime try scorers here. And the last time they played, West Tigers hung on in a desperate bid at Leichhardt over 18-10. That was in round 15 last year. They're probably a stronger side since then. The young kids have gelled a lot more together. So make that be a part of your decision making, I believe. Yeah, Stafford Tower has not gone over for 3 matches, and he's been one of our outstanding anytime try scorers this year. Brimson, hot and cold. He's hard to catch, Brimson. You nearly got to chuck him in as a reserve banker all the time. Chris Randall, I'm expecting a better match from him and Tom Weaver. Jermaine Jolliffe went over a couple of games ago, 2 or 3 games ago. Jaden Campbell is due for a big match as well. Very, very interesting. Mapapalungi there for Mapapalungi is 260 as well for the West Tigers. Heath Mason at 230. Yeah, I'm just looking for a lead banker here. Charlie Staines let us down last week. All we needed him to go over to get our double and our treble, but he let us down. Khan Pereira, you can see him having a big match, but he's $1.90. He can't lead out. I'll refuse to lead out with odds on unless it's exceptional circumstance, and I go for really good value for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th leg. Jojo Jafuda has killed us. Every time he scores, we haven't got him this year. He's been fantastic to us in the past. Can I have him again? I wouldn't lead out with him anyway. Jojo Jafuda. I don't think he's going to go over on the weekend. I can't see it happening. Stranger things have happened, though. Jaden Campbell. I really want to lead out with him, and I will. I'll lead out with Jaden Campbell. I just think he's due. He scores every 2nd or 3rd match, and this is his 3rd match since he hasn't scored. Jaden Campbell, 350, and he's very elusive. So let's stand him out with the Gold Coast there. And then we're going to spin it back towards, I'm going to do it. I will do it. Give him one more chance, Stafford Tower for the West Tigers. Stafford Tower as our lead banker there. That's our 2nd lead banker. And then we're going to come back here and just looking at Beau Fermor. He hasn't scored for 2 matches. I think he's going to have a big match. And Chris Randall as our 4th leg. And then we're going to put in Api Coruscant as our 5th leg. And Tom Weaver as our 6th and reserve leg there. Tom Weaver at really good value. So that's that game done and dusted. You can have West Tigers or Gold Coast 1-12. I'm still making up my mind. If you put hand behind my back and started twisting it and say, give me a tip, I would tip in extra time West Tigers to win that in golden point time. Okay, let's go to the last match and then we can go home and we can have dinner. I can go down the road. I haven't made anything, and so I need to go and get some dinner. Hopefully you're having your dinner while you're watching this or you watch the replay a bit later. It is my poor, hapless Newcastle Knights up against the Warriors. Warriors at $1.44, Newcastle at $2.80. So let's have a look here. Let's have a quick look at the team's ins and outs, and we'll move it along as quickly as we can so we can wrap it up tonight. The team's ins and outs. The biggest thing that's destroyed the Knights, apart from their ordinary year, is losing Fletcher Sharp and Ponga. And now all the rumours are flying around. That's really going to hurt them, I believe. Missing Fletcher Sharp, he was one of the linchpins of the side and has scored so many tries for the Knights and giving beautiful balls to Bradman Best and Dylan Lucas. And now Lucas is out. Like, give me a break. Let's have a look at the outs here. Dylan Lucas out. Rocco Berry out. He scored that beautiful try for us last week as our lead banker. And shame to see he hurt his arm, I believe, or his elbow. In for the Knights is Celessa Lumoona, Jack Hetherington, James Schiller, good to see him back, Cole McCarthy and Tyson Gamble. I don't know about Tyson Gamble. I've got nothing personal against the guy. Broncos got rid of him, and he really hasn't. He played all right last year for the Knights, hot and cold with Hastings, but I don't know. I really hope he plays out of his skin for his own sake as well. Ailey Luatola is in for the one of my favourite players, Luatola. Ali Luatola, he hasn't been playing for a long time. One of my favourite Warriors. Kurt Capewell back, Samuel Healy, Fatia Lofa, Bunty Afoa is in, and Ali Leatoa, as I said to you. And let's get straight across into the anytime try scorers. 280. I think Newcastle should be 380 here, easy. Honestly, I think they should be 380. Excuse me. And Warriors should be $1.24, not $1.44. It is. Is it at Marathon Stadium? I think it is. The last time they met, Warriors won 26-12, and that was in round 8. That's when they have never recovered. Basically, they caused 1 or 2 boilovers, but they've gone exactly the way we have thought they would go from that moment on. Dallin Watini Zalesniak is $1.85 for the market here. He leads it up with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. You'll never get those guys into even money these days. Both prolific try scorers for the Warriors. Dominic Young, 205. Not bad. Not bad. There's a little bit of value there. Tuapiki. He was inches from scoring last week, and he was one of our lead bankers. We had him into Lika Halasima, who went over. I'm going to lead out with him again. And we needed Adam Pompey for a 3-legger. We had Adam Pompey for a 3-legger, and he didn't get the ball when he was supposed to get it. It was a shame, just the way it happened. And Lika Halasima was on the wing at the right place at the right time. But Pompey, we really wanted him for a nice $50 double parlay, a 3-leg parlay. So Ali Leatoa is 275. Got to give him a bit of time to get back into it. I wouldn't want to lead out with him. Bradman Best let us down last week. 2 weeks prior to that, he scored. When we had him. I'm going to lead out with Tane Tuapiki again. I think he's going to go over here, guys. Tane Tuapiki at 230, great value. Dominic Young as our lead banker for the Newcastle at 205. I just think he's going to jump out of the air and score one of those freakish tries. So we're putting him in there for the lead banker. Third lead banker, I want to put in Adam Leotoa, but we're going to go a bit wider here. Kirk Catewell at 325. And then for our fourth leg, Chanel Harris Tavita. And it'd be remiss of me to leave out two of my favourite players for fifth and sixth leg, Lika Halasima and Jacob Laban. I really think he's very good value there, Laban. I'd be twisting him in and out of three-leg parlays there with the four top guys I've given you with Lika Halasima and Jacob Laban. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoy your football this weekend. Just remember, pay attention to the weather. Pay a lot of attention to the weather, especially in Melbourne. Take a good look at it. If it's a dry pitch, it's going to be a 13-plus match over Manly, I would believe. Hopefully, all the injuries, no one gets seriously injured in this weekend. And our crystal ball is telling us it's going to be a good payday for us. Come Monday, we're going to go over all the results, and we're going to have anytime try scorers coming out of our ears. We're going to have big bags of money, but go easy, bet responsibly, and put out, at least go with your two-leggers. They're your main bread and butter. Two-leg parlays, and when you're feeling a bit lucky, put your third, fourth, fifth, and sixth selections in with those two lead bankers. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Axel Phillips. Have a lovely, safe weekend. Hopefully the weather stays nice. I think it's going to be semi-inclement tomorrow. All the weather looks like it's been messed around with again. What was that famous saying that one of the famous American leaders come out with? Whoever controls the weather controls the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take care. Axel Phillips from Every Point's a Winner. Go Bulldogs this weekend.